Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. I'm Paul Leslie, brand and PR specialist here at ZeroBounce. And today's topic, better deliverability, better conversion. It's really the ultimate marketing question. Does it convert? To use one of the cliches, does it move the needle? Without that, you're nowhere. You're going to be hearing from Austin Helm, BDE at ZeroBounce. Austin brings 8 years of grassroots sales and development experience, helping build strong relationships with ZeroBounce users. He specializes in educating agencies and business owners on email deliverability and how ZeroBounce enhances their offerings. As an email expert, Austin is a trusted resource for improving email marketing, communication, and CRM performance. He's also a very accessible guy. You can connect with Austin on LinkedIn. I recommend you do. He'd want it that way. And now on to the next slide, please, Mr. McFarland. It's my pleasure to introduce Jenny Rosario, SVP and Head of Publisher Partnerships at Madrivo. Jenny brings 20 years of marketing firepower, including 12 years as a mailer, giving her sharp, real-world insight into what drives email performance. She's worked hands-on with Madrivo's mailing teams and others, arming them with the tools and strategies needed to navigate volatility, maximize deliverability, and fuel sustainable growth. How does that sound? You can also connect with Jenny Rosario on LinkedIn. Just hit that QR code there, and I'm sure she'd be happy to connect with you. And to tell you a little bit about ZeroBounce, we're all about helping you reach the inbox. Everything from mom and pops to Coca-Cola. All about reaching the inbox, a variety of tools from email validation to blacklist checkers, inbox placement tests, an email finder, and more. Some of you out there are no doubt ZeroBounce users. We thank you for that. And with that, it's my pleasure to tell you a little bit about this 800-pound gorilla called Madrivo, powering 12 billion emails monthly with a data-driven multi-channel approach. Madrivo specializes in email marketing, paid search, and social media. Partnering with top global mailers, they deliver optimized campaigns that maximize reach and ROI. With a focus on deliverability, list optimization, and targeting, Madrivo ensures your marketing efforts yield measurable results. And with that, Austin, Jennifer, how are you all doing today?
Doing well, Paul.
Very, very good.
Doing great. Happy to be on this webinar and sharing some insight.
Well, folks, thank you for bearing with some of the technical whatnot. I don't see anybody in the chat. Do you all see anybody in the chat?
Yes.
You do?
I see several attendees.
Okay. I don't know why they're not. I'm sure I'll figure it out. But with that, I'll let you all take it from here.
Okay. Welcome, everybody, to another podcast here. Webinar here. Sorry, podcast. It's good to have you. Again, I'm Austin from ZeroBounce. I'm the sales manager at ZeroBounce. And then we got Jenny here who's going to be talking to you a little bit more about things going on over at Madrivo and some of the topics with turning your emails into revenue. Garrett, if you could go to the next slide here, please. So we can go right to the next one. Part 1, where emails go wrong. So you're going to be hearing the term funnel today, and funnel can mean a million different things. It can be referring to a bunch of different things when you hear the word funnel. But what we're going to be focused on specifically is the funnel from the point that you get a contact to the point it actually converts through the process of sending an email. So there's a couple different steps in here. And Garrett, if you could go to the next slide. There's a couple different steps in here where the funnel can leak. And as the sales manager, I am constantly dealing with leaks and trying to avoid leaks. My job I should have the title of like sales plumber instead of sales manager, because you're constantly trying to plug the leaks and avoid things from getting out of the funnel and staying in the funnel. And so the key component, the very fundamental component of the funnel, is just the data that you have and making sure that that data is actually valid. So the first thing we're going to start with is just making sure that the email contacts that you have are actually valid, using some type of validation service, whether it's on the form portion of real time, whether you're on the intake of the data itself or you're doing it later on when you have a bulk list, just making sure that list is clean. But just because that list is clean does not mean that things are occurring the way you want them to occur. You can still, especially with Gmail and things like that, if you're B2C, you have all those different tabs with Gmail where things are going to promotions, things can go to spam, the forums tab, whatever the case may be. You want to make sure you're getting to the actual inbox that you're trying to get to. So inbox placement is going to be very important, and making sure you're getting to the actual inbox itself. Gary, we can go to the next slide here. So there's a couple different things that can happen from the list validation to the inbox placement portion. Jenny's going to speak more about the engagement and the post-click experience and the conversion, but we're going to focus mainly here on list validation and inbox placement, just making sure you get to where you actually want to be before these other things become important. So with the list validation, there's a couple things that can happen. If you don't validate the data, obviously you can get bounces, you can damage your sender's reputation. Everybody who's seen my webinars before knows my favorite analogy with email. It's the snowball analogy, where your email is either good things are happening or bad things are happening. You always want to be pushing the snowball in the right direction, because the good is going to get better and the bad is going to get worse. So you just want to make sure that you're staying on top of your list maintenance, and that you're not letting any of the bad data or any of the bad things happen continue to occur, so that your sender's reputation doesn't get damaged. And then in addition, after that's done, after you know that you have good data, making sure that you're getting to running things like inbox placement tests, understanding where your emails are actually landing when you're sending them into what inbox, and making the necessary adjustments so that the emails are getting to where the inbox that you actually want the emails to land in. Paul, next slide. So from problem to inbox, fixing deliverability, we can go right into the next one here. Garrett, thank you. So fixing deliverability starts with your data. We talked a little bit about this. Data is the nucleus of this whole thing. It's something that you have to be very conscious of as you're growing your business and building your book, because it's so easy for things to get out of control while you just have your head down and you're churning through different customers. So making sure that the data that you're getting, it's best, in my opinion, to set up a system that deals with the problem right away, so that as you're feeding data to your reps or yourself or whoever's going to be handling the data and sending the emails, they know they can trust that the data is actually going to be good. Because going back and dealing with that later on, when you're expecting things to happen or you're getting bounces and doing damage, and then you gotta wait a little bit to start doing things again, it can cause a bunch of issues. So that's the first thing you want to take care of. Next slide here, Garrett. So what the best deliverability looks like, what we're actually looking for to happen here is, number one, we get good data. Okay, we got a good email address. Now we craft a message. We know we're going to send it. We've checked it out. Everything looks good. And we send it off, and the email actually lands in the inbox of the person that we're trying to send to. It's as basic and simple as that. So if you can have good data and you're landing in the inbox where they're actually looking at their mails, I mean, all of you listening out there, you can ask yourselves, how often do you go and check the promotions tab? How often do you go and check spam? How often do you check these other tabs where emails could potentially land? It's not often, so it's much, much easier to convert if you're getting the mail to the place that it needs to get to. Go ahead and next one here, Garrett. So beyond the cleaning aspect of it, like I was talking about earlier, after we've cleaned our list, another thing that you can do to determine where your emails are going is run inbox placement tests. These inbox placement tests basically are where you send a real email that you're going to actually send to a live client to a test environment that is controlled by someone like us, ZeroBounce, where we can then tell you what happened with that email. Mimic this for all the different major providers out there: Google, AOL, Yahoo, Hotmail, whatever the case may be, whatever part of the globe. We have different what are called seeds that you'll be interacting with, and we'll tell you, okay, this email landed in inbox for Gmail, it landed in spam for Yahoo, or promotions for Gmail, whatever the case may be. You'll get a good idea of what's happening with your emails prior to actually doing the live send, so that you know if there's anything that you need to adjust before you do the live send, so that you are landing in the inbox. That's the goal here. And again, it's something you want to periodically check. It's not something you want to do one time, because things can change. And like I was saying before, we want to be pushing the ball in the right direction. Go ahead, Garrett. So out of those two basic things, what are the things that are going to cause problems while you're moving through this part of the funnel? Well, the easy one is just sending to bad data. We know this. We've talked about this a bunch of times on these webinars. Sending to bad data is the worst thing that you can do, and it's going to cause the most damage the most quickly. So making sure that the list that you have are validated and you understand what type of status you're dealing with. We want to be sure that we're dealing with valid emails. Things like catch-alls and other types of things that can appear to be valid might sneak in there, and we want to make sure we're careful with those. And then also just assuming that the emails are getting delivered to the inbox without knowing. Some of the things that you'll be looking to monitor will be like your click rates and your opens and things like that. That will give you a good idea. Like, okay, if I'm getting everything is being delivered, but I'm not getting good engagement, something is wrong here. There's something else I have to look into. And then just constantly keeping up with the maintenance of everything, checking the monitors with about your sender's reputation, understanding how that's affecting what could be potentially happening with your emails. There's a bunch of different signals and things that you're looking for to make sure that there's no issues taking place or interfering with the emails that you're sending out. Next, Garrett. And so when it is working, when everything's humming and everything's working nice and smoothly, everything's a nice, well-oiled machine, everything's going to be going to inbox. You're not going to be getting bounces. Your click rates are going to be higher. Your reply rates are going to be higher, and then ultimately the revenue is going to be higher. So you want to see as many of the emails that you send out convert into purchases as possible. That is how you know things are ultimately going good. Now, obviously, there's more things that factor into that: the quality of your product, the messaging, things of that nature. But if you have the basics, if you know you have the quality of the product handled, if you know you are doing the other things correctly, but you're not seeing results, then it's probably something that's in whether it's your messaging or it's in your ability to deliver, that's going wrong. Because we want to see as many of those emails that you send out convert into purchases as we possibly can. So, with a squeaky clean sender's reputation, with emails landing in the inbox, and with people opening the emails, you should definitely begin to see results. And I'm going to turn it over to Jenny here, who's going to take you through turning the inbox placement into the revenue. How are we going to do this?
All right, next. There we go. First off, I actually wanted to start off by focusing on what Austin was discussing. Hygiene obviously is incredibly important, but the first step for us is to look at where we get our data. There are so many data providers out there that offer data at cheap prices, great. It's so important to trust who your data providers are. And with our exclusive teams and with so many of the mailers in the industry, we do have some data partners that we trust that we will use solely for our teams. We have to trust them in order to just start, data's gold, as we all know. So that's obviously the first step for us. And it's something we're on top of. If any of you need solid references, we've got them. Another thing is, I know that with the delivery issues in the industry, a lot of people have jumped out and have now jumped back in with signs of life with delivery improving. So most mailers I know are using ESPs. It's very, very important. I think we have our own proprietary platform, but we also use ESPs. So if you need any recommendations, we've got trusted ones who can handhold the beginning mailers. We've got more experienced ESPs trusted. So feel free to hit us up for recommendations, referrals, introductions. So now, as I was speaking with our internal mailers this week, our external teams, or exclusive teams, I discussed with them some information that we received from AWeber. Now, our CEO, I'm going to go a little off script here. Our CEO and I went to AWeber and spent an entire day out there discussing best practices, engagement, complaint rates, everything needed to, once you inbox, in order to get the engagement. And when I was discussing this with our exclusive teams this week, that information is still relevant. It may seem very, very basic, but a lot of times we need reminders. And each of you are going to test your own strategies. And that's so important. It's just to test. But even with our internal teams, we have our strategies across multiple teams, but individual mailers have their own strategies as well. So again, it's finding a way into the inbox. And then once you're there, how to keep the engagement at peak performance. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information that we gleaned from AWeber. We sat there for an entire day, and with the head of delivery, the postmaster, the head of best practices, and they gave us a lot of great guidelines. One of the most important things is actually to even get into the inbox, and subject lines are actually key. One thing that they let us know, and some of you may know this, is a subject line should not have more than 50 characters. If it does, it's more likely to end up in spam folder. And also the timing. You want to have a subject line that captures the audience's attention. Now, with delivery the way it is these days, and a lot of times you see the ghosting, the quicker you get the engagement from the audience, the faster that's going to be opened as opposed to being moved to the spam folder. We've seen this a lot. And so timing is also crucial to actually get into, to take a look actually at the timing of when you send your email. Now, when I was mailing, and this goes back 20 years ago, and it's still applicable today, to look at the timing of when you send your emails. We would send 4 times a day, and starting off at 5 o'clock in the morning, East Coast time, so that you get people on the subway, a metro, on their way to work. And then again at noon, when they're on their lunch breaks, on their way home. At night, you're looking at the elderly who don't sleep. So you have to really look at the targeted audience when you're sending your emails and the content. And then also, one of the things we looked at and still do is we've got teams that will only send, you don't want to saturate your data. So if an offer looks great, it's so tempting to send it the next day. It's one of those things that we have teams that will do that, but we find it to be very, very productive to send an offer once every 4 days and then use the interim days to send complimentary emails, complimentary verticals if an offer works. So say you have a homeowner and you send a refi offer, a mortgage offer, you don't send that again the next day or the next. You can send something that is home improvement related, something more prime, whether it's financial or gold, something homeowner related, something that's going to capture the same audience, but not saturate their data and have them not engaged. So another one is, this is very basic as well, but I was a very creative mailer and I would send anything to anyone. This goes back again when CAN-SPAM compliant laws were just in effect. But we do have teams that will send, you have to test your data. You're not going to know what you're sending, especially when you work with providers that don't give you segment the data. You just get a bulk amount of data and you just have to test and then segment it out when you see the engagement. And as it says right here, the targeting, once you segment that data to whether it's prime, subprime, be very intentional in the offers that you send. Again, very basic, but it's crucial in keeping the engagement, keeping your complaint rates low. And then let me get back to the information that we received from AWeber. Use your most engaged and relevant data sets after your clear performance metrics on other platforms. So continue to test. Again, test everything. On ESPs, you use shared IP space with good ISP reputation, and it's important to adhere to the rules on those ESPs. So for AWeber, And again, this is applicable across ESPs. Deploy warm-up strategies and send valuable content in addition to promotional offers in order to keep the subscribers engaged and prevent spam complaints. That will keep the following averages in line with minimum benchmarks. And always, always target a CTR over 5%, never below 3%. And always target the lowest complaint rate possible. And it should always be below 0.2%. Diversify your list and blend as many ISPs as possible. If you limit it to only Yahoo or Gmail, whatever ISP you use, it can cause future issues. And I know that as mailers, we tend to focus on what works best for us. But if you can find mailers who work with other ISPs and collaborate with them, strategize with them, we have found that to be very valuable in sharing our experience, not necessarily our strategies, because, that's gold, but sharing insight. There are groups on Teams, on Telegram, where you can get some valuable insight. You don't necessarily want to be a solo mailer. It can be not only lonely, but it can keep you in a box. Share your information, and it's only going to make you a better mailer. It's only going to give you more insight. And then now for mailer content restrictions. Again, I'm going a little off script here, but you should use your site as the friendly from and from the from domain. This is, again, best practices. Your site's header and footer should be clearly displayed in all email creatives. Valuable content, again, is key. Consult with your rep, whether it's Madrivo, hopefully it's Madrivo, on which offers are approved to run through your ESP accounts. And we can provide lists of the offers that are approved to run through different ESPs and restrict it to these offers only. That's gonna keep you off the best practices teams. And you should limit offers to approved ESP offers, which again, we can provide those offers for you. For the unsub link, the only one that can be used is the ESP's unsubscribe link with your composed footer. And again, a lot of times with networks, they'll say you can only run email, you can't run newsletter. Most ESPs are newsletter based. It's designed to be sent more as a newsletter just for engagement purposes. If a network tells you can't run an offer because it's newsletter, you can respond back to them that newsletter, they're designed to be newsletter sending. It's email, but the actual email is set up like a newsletter because it has to be delivered by the ESPs, if that makes any sense to you. Next slide, please. Okay. So for ideal delivery, maintain the creative's text image ratio to 60 to 40%. Text to image. That's something that we actually didn't know. You may know this, but we didn't know until we actually got this from the ESPs, that the heavier your creative is, the less it's going to be harder to inbox. So if you look at Gmail, their creatives are text only. Most of them are text only for the purpose of inboxing. Now, if you look at a Liberty Mutual asset creative, it's almost entirely image. And while it's a great offer, you're going to be more likely to inbox if you keep that proportion, that ratio of 60% text to image. That was something that we use for our own creatives, for custom creatives. You could play with it a little bit, but it actually is optimum for inboxing. And so if you are running any of our offers, we do have many, many, many custom creatives that our teams provide. You can use stock assets. And I know a lot of you actually make your creatives. So it'd be interesting to see if you do that yourselves. I'd love to get feedback on that. Or if it's something that we can help you with. We have mailers that even if they're running solely cables, Yahoo, they create their own custom assets based on this type of ratio and some of this feedback. You see. Okay. And then personalization. When you're ready to run an offer, what we find is a lot of times our mailers want to use a personalization. Some networks don't allow that. Advertisers don't allow that. But if you can get them to do that, it really is a very important part of engagement. So and again, most of you probably do that, but it is something that we find to help with the open rates. And next. Okay, so we're actually going to move past this and look at the value proposition. So your emails, when you're looking at the subject, from lines, assets, it's important to look at the value proposition, make it clear why they should take action. And that seems very basic, but we get so many offers into our inbox, advertisements, that we don't even bother to even look at them anymore. So you do need to make it clear, even in the subject line, why it's important for them to take action. And once they open the emails, there should be very, very clear call to action. It should be for the break and in the page, bottom of the page, but make it clear so they don't miss it. The shorter, the more concise that messaging is to them. With everything out there, our attention span has gotten to be so small. You want to make sure that is one of the first things they see. And the visuals and design, again, all of that should lead back to the click to call, the call to action. And it should be direct and actionable. Basic, but sometimes we need these reminders. And again, with social proof and trust signals, we tend to not trust anything we open anymore. I personally don't. Often one wouldn't even open something that I've subscribed to. So you want to make sure that you engage them and get their trust from the get-go. And work at the minimizing the fall off. Again, that's why the message should be clear. Image should be engaging. The message should be very clear so that they don't fall off. They want to click. They will actually want to click on your CTA. And that should be, so within a page, there should be a couple different call to actions buttons. And again, within the laws, within guidelines, there should be a sense of urgency and a reminder throughout that campaign, that offer, that if they are going to miss out. But make sure that you use the approved subject lines, from lines. Don't get too creative, or that you could get in trouble for that. Next. Okay. So we're going to, let's see. For the sake of time, we are going to move to cost-effective growth and effortless scalability. With your engagement, you do want to continue to work on cost. Actually, we're going to skip this as well. When you're working with an email marketing agency, you want to be confident in who you're working with. And one of the things we look at is when you look at ZeroBounce and Madrivo and the partnership between them, our expertise is kind of a one-stop shop. You can get all of these tools, expertise, assets with a partnership like ZeroBounce and Madrivo. And with each of our expertise, us with actual delivering the emails, the billions that we do monthly, you can come to us for any kind of questions, suggestions, experience, and even to the point where we have done the actual schedules for our partners, looking at the different offers, looking at how you're going to get the most out of each email that you send, how you're going to reach a bigger, wider audience. And that's going to go down to your deliverability, the offers you choose, the partners you work with, the resources that you can get from these partners. And all of that combined can strengthen and actually will strengthen your overall marketing strategy. Next. So the top factors to consider when choosing an email marketing agency for growth. As you know, as mentioned, we have a lot of experience. We have multiple teams. Our company is based on email marketing. We have many, many teams. We're based out of Romania, and our teams have gone through the ups and downs in this market, from sending billions to basically not being able to inbox. As all of you've seen, those of you who've been in this industry for a long period of time, this is not something that is steady. It's scalable, but you're also going to hit a wall. As an example, back in 2006 to 2009, I was doing about $554,000 a month in email on Yahoo and AOL. In August of 2009, I drove $554,000 in revenue. The next month, I made $838. We hit a wall that hard. Our teams have hit walls that hard, as many of you, actually all of you have, if you've gone through the last couple of years. People have left the industry. But when you work with a company, whichever company it is, and you look at ZeroBounce, you look at Madrivo, we have a proven track record of experience with large brands like Liberty Mutual. Ethos is one that has grown steadily with us. And our focus is and always will be success in driving long-term customer value. It's not an industry where we can churn or focus on churn. It's longevity in an industry that is so inconsistent. The ebbs and flows are brutal. I've never seen an industry that has had the highs that we have or the lows that we have. So you want to look at sustainable partners, sustainable brands, and look at the long-term value of our clients and your clients. Compliance and deliverability expertise. It's important to work with clients that are very clear on being compliant. It's sexy to look at quick money, and it just does not work long term. So when you work with companies that are really focused on CAN-SPAM, CCPA, GDPR, you're going to be more sustainable in your growth, scalability, and just long-term value with your partners in the industry. And with compliance and deliverability expertise, it ensures high deliverability and inbox placement. But we can't control what happens with the ISPs, deliverability, the market. But when we are inboxing, this type of expertise and compliance is going to take you much further than if you're working with a network that allows you to do anything but get you in trouble. You're going to avoid lawsuits. You're going to avoid issues, losing valuable campaigns. And then you look at creative and content excellence. It delivers when you deliver compelling content, visuals, and mobile responsive designs, you're going to obviously inbox and engage your audience much faster and for a longer term period of time without the complaints, without getting unsubscribes. And then also focusing on engaging CTAs that drive conversions, as I mentioned earlier. All of this is going to contribute to your growth and the value of your partnerships. Next. And again, for the sake of time and for Q&A, I'm just going to read this quickly, and you can reach out to me afterward for any questions you might have. Top factors to consider when choosing an email marketing agency for growth. Just a little additional information. Advanced personalization. The custom approach with a dedicated rep to guide and advise. This is where expertise comes into play with our team members with Madrivo. We have, as mentioned, I have 20 years experience as a mailer and as a consultant. All of our reps have between 5 to 10, if not longer, more experience in the industry. ZeroBounce, it's their experience, their team members over a decade among many of those partners. So it's just important when you're working with partners, when you're choosing who to work with, to really look at the expertise and the experience. It's going to help you through the pitfalls. And if we don't have the answers, we'll find them for you. Scalability and flexibility. We'll be able to help you scale campaigns based on our experience, based on custom assets, and our knowledge of how to adapt to the market changes with all of the experience we have. We look at the trends. We have the data. ZeroBounce has the data to look at the trends, seasonality, and consumer behavior. It's important to have that information in your hands when you're looking at how to build a campaign, inbox, and keep your audience engaged. Next. All right. Just here's a very, very quick look at one of our big partners. And it's just before they started working with Madrivo, their ROAs stuck at 1.0 and they were struggling to hit the target of 1.5. They had inconsistent lead quality and compliance issues from previous agencies. And there was a lack of transparency and difficulty scaling responsibility. With the expertise of our team, after we're starting to work with Madrivo, their ROIs improved from 1.0 to over 2.0, consistently exceeding their targets. Verified leads led to higher quality and better compliance, and multiple six-figure revenue months while maintaining targeted ROIs. This is pretty much a great example of where experience and our focus on LTV is crucial in working with our partners. Next. From Ethos, we have a testimony. He said, working with Madrivo has been a game changer. Their expertise in digital marketing and lead generation helped us reach more customers and grow our business faster than we expected. This is just one of many. And again, our focus is not just on, we value our clients, our customers, and we actually take pride in helping them grow. It's not just about us. It's about maintaining our partnerships and helping them grow their families, their lives, our impact on how we can help them grow. And next, from clicks to conversions, bringing it all together.
Thank you, Jenny. So to just sum it up here quick for you guys, and I want to touch on something quick that I had brushed over that Jenny touched on as well, which is where your data is actually coming from that you're emailing to. Again, there's the organic way of getting data where you are getting data through your intake forms, or you're doing it in person at shows, or whatever the case may be. It's just they are giving you the data somehow, some way, versus going and purchasing it from a third party. You can expect very different results there in terms of how the quality of the data that you're getting. And if you are getting your data from a third party, you want to absolutely be sure that you are validating it, because the majority of that data is probably not going to be good. So be very careful. It is a method that can work, but be very careful when doing that, because if you don't validate or clean that data, you're definitely going to have issues. So thank you for bringing that up, Jenny. I wanted to touch on that because I don't think I stressed that enough. So putting it all together, again, getting the data that you're looking for, getting the correct message together, ensuring that message gets to the inbox and that those people are opening that mail, they're clicking that mail, and they're ultimately taking the decisions to convert into a customer is the entire goal here. And so with those basic steps that we just outlined in doing so, it's a recipe for success to make sure that you're going to have successful campaigns when you are emailing and trying to get your offerings in front of your clients. It's pretty basic. There's really no magic that happens here. It's just a matter of understanding what you're doing and what you're dealing with and putting the right pieces in the right place. Next slide here, Garrett. So again, the quick checklist, if you're going to take something away from today, check your data. Make sure that you are dealing with good data, valid contacts, simple rule number one. And then taking out any of the bad data, assuring that you're not sending to any bad emails or getting rid of the easy layup problems like bounces and things like that are affecting what you're doing. Testing the different things that you're doing with emails, your CTAs, subject lines, things that Jenny was talking about, and then making sure that CTA is leading somewhere and getting people to the correct spot that you want them to get to and is handling them in the correct manner that you want them to be handled. So those are the simple basic things you can look at within your funnel after this webinar here to ensure that things are going smoothly. If you're seeing leaks there, then there might be something you want to address. Again, Jenny and I are here to help you. If you want to reach out to us, you think you have some problems or questions that you want us to look into, we would definitely be happy to help. We can go to, I believe we can bring Paul back on here, and we're ready for Q&A. Garrett, if you wanted to go to the next step. Yeah, again, here's where you can reach out to Jenny. And then, Jenny, is there anything you wanted to add here before we go into Q&A?
Nope. We can go straight to Q&A.
Okay.
All right. And folks, if you have any questions, please feel free to just leave them there in the chat and we'll get to them. First question comes from Daniel Londano. Great name. This is super useful. Thanks, Jennifer. What do you think about including personalization, the person's name, in the subject line? Does this move the needle or not at all? What says you, Jenny?
Yeah, actually, Daniel, yes, I do believe personalization does help. If you can work with your advertisers, your networks to get subject lines that do allow personalization. It's, we all like a little attention. It's normal. So it's going to draw our attention much, much faster and quicker or easier than if it's not personalized.
I had a question, Jenny. You mentioned in there a little bit about what happens if you skimp on compliance. You said you don't want to, you'll lose if you skimp on compliance. What does somebody stand to lose if they skimp on something like email compliance?
So if that's actually a two-pronged question for me. If you skip on, so many of you, as I mentioned, work with ESPs. If you skimp on compliance, they're going to shut you down very, very, very quickly. They'll give you a little bit of grace with complaint rates. They'll give you a little red flag. You'll get some guidance. But if you skimp on compliance and you're running, you're running a little rogue, they're not going to give you a second chance oftentimes. When you're working with a network, when you are falsely, like I said, I was creative. My subject lines would get me terminated very quickly at this day and age, just to be honest. So while a lot of people like to work in the gray, it's you toe a line and you'll get kicked out of a network so fast. If you're actually being aggressive, if you're giving false information, if you have questions about your assets, about if you're using custom assets, this goes for whether you're doing email, social, any type of channel, check with your rep. Just make sure that your network that you work with has a great legal team, because you're going to get assets that are approved. They're not going to get you in trouble with FCC. You're going to maintain a long-term relationship with your partners.
Jenny, can you tell us a little bit about this Madrivo $2,500 CPM giveaway?
Yes. So we're I don't know how many of you run CPMs, but we have a promotion, and anyone on this call is eligible for it to get a extra $2,500 campaign when you launch a $2,500 CPM campaign with us. So it's a little extra bonus when you run a CPM campaign through us. And then you can reach out to me via email or also reach out on Telegram. I can provide all of that information. Let's see, that's my Telegram information right there, I believe. Garrett, can you confirm that? Or is that my LinkedIn?
So that goes straight to your Telegram.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. The one at the beginning is to your LinkedIn account.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So that's actually the easiest way to reach me. And also, one thing I wanted to mention is if any of you would like that information that we received from AWeber, I have an email that I can send to you. And if you want an example of any of the schedules that I did for the internal teams, I used to do this for all the internal teams every Sunday night for every day of the week, whether it was 13 campaigns they were sending, half to cables, Yahoo. I'm happy to send an example of those schedules. It might give you a little insight into the strategy and how we focused on optimizing inboxing and engagement.
All right. So the email is jennifer.rosario@madrivo.com. And Austin, am I reading this correctly? They can create a free ZeroBounce account?
Correct. Yes. If you sign up, you'll get some free credits to try everything out. We also have other tools like the inbox placement tester you'll have access to try as well. So if you're interested in, you can go ahead and scan that to create your free account, or you can just go to zerobounce.net and sign up there. And again, if you have any questions or about anything or want to meet, you can reach out to me, Austin, AUSTIN, at zerobounce.net, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn and be happy to talk to you guys there.
All right. And the ZeroBounce website, it's real simple, zerobounce.net. Have we covered it all? Are we beyond the end now?
I think so.
We covered everything.
What was that, Jenny?
I think we covered everything.
Okay, well, that's a good sign. I think about this frequently. There's an older gentleman who told me one time, he said, there is no such thing as a flawless Zoom call. No such thing. I've never forgotten that. And I think about it every time I log into Zoom. Thank you, everyone out there, for staying and playing with us. It's been a great pleasure. I can tell you, Jenny and Austin, I learned so much from you guys. You guys made it very easy to understand, and my thanks to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Jenny.
Facilitating
Thank you, Garrett.
Thank
All
you, guys.
right. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Until next time.
Take care.